The All Detroit Lions today. Bonus. Talk about that full practice. Boom. Jonathan, what's up? We'll talk some football on a Saturday.
Playoffs.
What's up, DJ? Let's go. Jonathan in the house. DJ in the house. Gotta like that. What up? Oh, that is back. All right. Welcome one, welcome all. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Detroit Lions talk right here with Russell Wayne. That is me. What is going on? Thank you very much for making us a listen today. This is a bonus episode because I was listening to Pride of Detroit this morning and they were talking about this full padded practice and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So welcome one. Welcome all. We got Jim Bob in there. Go Lions. The most excitement I've ever had for a season. And Jim Bob is pumped up. I'm pumped up as well. We had a full padded practice today. And some of the guys that they were saying were standing out. Now, I didn't get to see this personally because I'm not cool enough yet to have a have a spot there in the training camp to where I get to watch all the practices. But I do trust the guys from Pride of Detroit. And when I do listen to that, they're giving correct information. And there were some guys that really, really stood out in training camp. Who are you most excited as a Detroit Lion fan to see in full pads, in full training camp? Who are you the most excited to see this year, take the next step as far as our Detroit Lions are concerned? And where do we go from there? Brian Branch, the safety depth. Brian Branch was injured, a minor injury in camp, but they were saying that he was flying all around the field today in the full pads and looking really, really good. Looking very good as a safety depth position. And usually when you draft a safety in that second round, you're expecting this guy to contribute early and often. And he is making some waves. He's looking really, really good, according to the Pride of Detroit guys. And I want to see it, man. They said he looks like he's really, really fast right there. Oh, I love it. Jonathan coming in with, man, I am excited about all of them. Next step. James Houston. Now that is interesting right there with James Houston, because this guy is a pass rushing specialist. They've been moving him linebacker, but believe it or not, Charles Harris is ahead of James Houston on the depth chart right now, going in pass rushing, they've expanded Charles Harris' role, and that is looking more and more like a really, really good pickup in the first part of the Brad Holmes regime, to bring in a guy that was kind of failed at another spot, and he comes here and does well. And then James Houston, drafted in the 6th round, contributing with 8 sacks in 7 games. I mean, just the thought of James Houston having a full season and seeing what he can do. Jonathan also says Josh Pascal. Now, that was another report out of camp. They said that this kid looks a lot different than he did last year. Looks a lot faster than he was last year. So I am expecting a good contribution out of Josh Pascal in this year, having a full offseason. He was a 2nd round pick, so we are expecting those dudes to step up. And, guys like Pascal, I mean, you're not really expecting too much out of him. Well, I mean, what do you expect out of some of these other guys when we had solid guys at the end of last season, like Isaiah Buggs and like Aleem McNeil and like John Kaminsky and like Charles Harris and Romeo Okwara? Like, these guys that are depth pieces are actually stepping up. I've never seen a Detroit Lions team that has this much depth and just the guys behind the guys. And, even with the injuries happening, like when Chauncey Gardner went down, Brian Branch immediately steps in and is doing well with what he has given to him. So, Jonathan also says that those dudes are ready for the next step, I believe. And there's a whole bunch of them. That's the crazy thing to me. Kaminsky, Charles Harris, Josh Pascal, James Houston, Aiden Hutchinson, the commish, like Buggs, McNeil. Like, there's only 4 spots on that line. So this is going to be a rotation that's going to be frightening for the rest of the NFL. It's like we run a smack talking group, and I was talking with Bill, the Packer fan, earlier, and he's talking about all these minor injuries that we need to be worried about, all these minor injuries, and that's how our season's going to get derailed. But we have depth. The guys that get injured, the next man up might even be better than the guy that got injured. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. W Vogs 18. I'm so bad with the names. I can't remember what his name is, because you're W Vogs 18, but that is Jeremy Ballrick's protege right there that says, I'm excited to see Gibbs play, because he will be playing a little running back and some wide receiver. Let's talk about that. I like that. That's a good call. You like that? Because Jahmyr Gibbs is in a position that no other drafted running back has ever been in the position here in Detroit. Because every running back that we get, via Kerryon Johnson or, Swift and, these guys that they draft, they're bringing in without having an established offensive line. Even when Barry Sanders was here, it's like, oh, wow, what would have happened if he would have ran behind Dallas's offensive line? Well, I think they're going to kind of figure that out, where you take a really talented guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, who may be one of the fastest running backs in the league day one, with all that skill, the way he can break tackles, the way that he can manipulate his own speed. Like, I don't know if you've watched this guy run the football at Alabama, but the way that he made people miss was he can change speeds. Like, when he hits that, he has so much speed that when he's going to the outside, he can get to the outside faster than 99% of the people by running in third gear. And then if they try coming at him, then he just speeds up. And if you notice, when you watch Jahmyr Gibbs tape, watch how many people that are close to him that don't touch him. I mean, look at that specifically. Like, don't look at the fact that he's running away from people. I mean, he's not going to be able to run away from people like that in college. Like, he was able to do that in college. In the pros, it's going to be different. He ain't just going to be able to, score a touchdown on every play. But what he is going to be able to do is manipulate the speed, be able to break the tackles. Like when you try to get the angle on him, he's got another gear that you just miss. Like you think you have the angle on him, and he has other gears. And I saw that a little bit with Bijan Robinson, but Bijan Robinson is just a straight like stud when it comes to like spin moves and being able to be agile. Jahmyr Gibbs's break tackles has more to do with just almost getting as close to he can to the person that's trying to tackle him before he makes his move, which makes it very dangerous for like linebackers and people that are trying to tackle him to try to get a hold of him, because you think that you got him. He's got another gear and he manipulates it. So Jahmyr Gibbs is special in that way. And I can't wait to see what he can do with this offensive line that allows 4 yards before contact. And that's amazing. Same thing with David Montgomery. We can get into the David Montgomery thing. David Montgomery versus Jamal Williams. I know a couple of people were out there thinking that it was a huge loss of Jamal Williams. I love Jamal Williams. That is a one-cut runner. Jamal Williams was great. Find the hole. He did what he needed to do. But on the second level, you make the one cut, you get through the hole, and then, if you can get to the outside and score, you could do that. But there wasn't moves on the second level like what David Montgomery brings to the table. Had the highest break tackle rate in the league, tied with Nick Chubb. And he's going to get 4 yards before contact when he's making his first move. When he was behind that dog crap offensive line in Chicago, he was making his first move to break the tackle probably in the backfield. They didn't have an offensive line. John says, wow, I did not know that. I'm thinking that you're probably talking about the Charles Harris thing. Yeah, they want to expand his role. According to a couple of the sources, and even Lockdown Lions was talking about that. Pride of Detroit was talking about that. They look like they're expanding Charles Harris' role, putting him in linebacker situations. And we were hitting something up like Main Event Mike was talking on our show last week, thinking that the Lions, with the skill positions that they have on defense, that they might actually make like a new style of defense. And they were running something weird this morning that Pride of Detroit was talking about, where it was like a 4-1-5 or a 5-1-5, where there was only a linebacker, and it was Jack Campbell was that linebacker. And you got that 4-man front, and then you have like a safety type of dude on one side of them, and then you have the Jack linebacker. They're going to try to get pressure this year. So he needs a second pass rush move. That's what Mike says. I don't know which guy you're talking about. If you could throw that back into the comments, who you're talking about, the second pass rush move. Hi, Tina. What's going on, Tina? Oh, let's see if we can get Main Event Mike in here. Boom, we got Main Event Mike on the line right now. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great, Russ. The link wouldn't let me join by video.
Really?
Yeah.
That's dumb.
It just keeps. This is the phone sessions. Anyway, I'm too stoked up to at least not call in. I mean, they put the pads on yesterday.
They did. And that's why we're here. Like, because I couldn't just, Saturday is going to be the bonus day. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's something good, and I'm listening to Pride of Detroit this morning, and it just got me so excited, even though Bill was trying to troll me. Like, he called me right before I got on. He's like, you guys are suffering the injury bug. And I'm like, yeah, there was like 5 minor injuries, and most of those guys not named Tom Kennedy played out there today in the full pads, like Brian Branch, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Jamison Williams. All those guys participated today. Jeremy Preston says, don't forget about the skipper. I was trying to forget about the skipper, and I think that we may be able to forget about the skipper because our offensive line's deep. That could be good. I don't know. What do you think about that? What do you think about Dan Skipper?
I think it's going to happen just like it did last year. He's going to get cut, put on the practice squad. Somebody will get hurt, and he'll come back. I think his story with the Detroit Lions is not over for Dan Skipper. I know Dan Campbell really likes him. He is a very, very large man. But, maybe he's progressing. Maybe his skills are getting better. Maybe he'll surprise us all and actually make the 53.
Yeah, but that's a good problem to have, right? Like if Dan Skipper doesn't make the team, I mean, that's a good thing because that means that the depth has pushed him off of the roster. And it's nothing against Dan Skipper, but he's a Jag. He's just the guy.
Well, remember from Hard Knocks last year, the day that that Dan Campbell had to cut Dan Skipper, he said right to the audience, this guy deserves to be here. He's worked his tail off. He's done everything I've asked him to do.
Right.
There just isn't enough room for him. So they had to let him go. And then, 3 or 4 weeks later, he was back on the team.
Yeah. And that's what's a beautiful thing about the depth. The depth from the Detroit Lions last year extended into the practice squad. And that's something like most teams don't even know who the hell's on their practice squad, let alone a guy coming up from the practice squad and contributing. Tom Kennedy.
Look at James Houston.
James Houston was a practice squad. Yes.
First 2/3 of the year on the practice squad. I bet every 31 teams are going, damn, why didn't we snatch him up?
Right. And they were actually that I saw an article that came out that was actually saying that James Houston was actually close to quitting on the Detroit Lions because he wasn't getting the opportunity. I'm assuming. I didn't read the whole article with that, but I mean, if you're on the practice squad and you think you're badass, that would suck, right? So, I don't know if I like that kind of attitude, but it's
what a best story James Houston will be if he continues on his tear that he started on his rookie. Of course, we all know setting the rookie record for most sacks through the shortest span. 8 sacks in 7 games, or 7 sacks in 8 games. I mean, just an unheard of, a historic run by a rookie. Let's say he continues that trend for the next 3-4 years. We re-sign him. He goes on to have a Hall of Fame career. What a story James Houston will be coming out of Jackson State and HBHC after transferring, getting into some trouble in Florida and then getting taken in the 7th round.
Yeah. Spending
all his time on the practice squad. He finally gets his opportunity. He will be a poster child for all late round draft tickets and those who have never met expectations. And there's still hope for you.
I love it, man. Will Vogel, thank you for changing your name on there. Hey, it's me, Jeremy's Padawan, and I'm excited to see Gibbs. He will play wide receiver and be productive. Thank you for putting that in there, Will, because I'm a musician, and musicians are known for smoking lots of pot and forgetting stuff. And I don't mean that in a bad way. And I love having you on the show. And I was brain farting on your name, so I apologize for that. But thank you for changing your name so I can see that it's Will, which is Jeremy's Padawan.
Yeah. You will learn the ways of the Detroit Lions. Actually, I'm pretty sure Will's a Panther fan.
Yeah, but we're converting him. I mean, Jeremy's been doing a great job at, turning him over to the dark side. Maybe he's going to. Jake Dilling, what's up? Jake the Take is in the comment and says, I expect Pascal to step up huge in stopping the run. That's great, Take.
Hey, tell Jake Dilling to accept my friend request, please.
Hey, Jake. Mike sent you a friend request, and I would love it if you would accept this friend request so he can stop. So you can stop thinking. Can you hear me? Did I lose you? Can you accept this friend request?
Where did I lose you?
I guess you lost me. I'm trying to. Hello. Oh, well, don't tell me that, Mike. Don't get in your car and go to your Bluetooth and wonder why you can't hear me. I expect Josh Pascal to step up in a big way. Oh, we lost main event Mike. He might try to call back in. Had to give you a hard time. Can you hear me, Mike? Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I've been hearing you the whole time trying to tell Jake Dilling to accept your friend request, and then you would interrupt me with, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can't hear nothing. So I'm trying to tell Jake right now to accept your friend request. That way you can stop thinking that Jake hates you. And I don't know if that's the case.
Well, main event, Mike, not on the phone sessions here, but on our Monday night show, I can be pretty much a dick, right? I mean, it's my job. I'm the king of Sting. I don't give anybody a pass. And Jake always has a good take, so I was just hoping I didn't rub him the wrong way. We love him.
We certainly do. We certainly do. And I love the comment that he had here about Josh Pascal, because that is why they drafted him. They didn't draft him to be, the pass rusher. They drafted him to set the edge, because that's what he did when he was in Kentucky. He was very good at setting the edge, and he was very good at rushing the passer from inside. So if he takes a step forward, I mean, the rest of the North should be scared of this, because I'm talking about depth guys right here. And these are depth guys that would definitely start on your crappy team, Chicago Bears or the Minnesota Vikings. You like that. You wish you had some pass rusher. Hunter's a good pass rusher. That's what you got. But then you have half a sack Davenport. Like, you guys would take Josh Pascal or Romeo Okwara or Charles Harris to be your starter, Minnesota Viking fan. Actually, we're not even broadcasting Minnesota Viking fans, so I'm just talking crap to all my Lion fans out there.
Let's not sleep on the fact these guys are second-round picks, right? Onzarike, right. Josh Pascal. These guys were coming out. They were good draft picks at the time. So both leaders on their teams, and maybe it's a little insight on why the Lions didn't take a defensive tackle early in the draft.
Let's see. Hey, I just want to make sure, if everybody that's listening right now, throw a comment in there. Make sure that you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear Mike? I just want to make sure that I'm not just talking to myself with Mike, because I call him every day, so we would have this conversation. But I want to make sure that you guys are hearing it. So Dan Skipper is going to step up big, or Dan Skipper stepped up last year big for us too. So that's a good one by Jeremy. Thank you for the comment. Will says, I think that Hutchinson can get double-digit sacks this year. How about that, Mike?
Well, he was only a half a sack away from it his rookie season, so absolutely. All these NFL pundits, they always say these same talking points, and that is that rookies always take a huge leap in their second year. And that's really what teams are looking for is progression, right? They're looking for improvement. And goodness knows that the rookie class from last year makes huge strides. This year, the Lions are going to be really hard to deal with for any team.
Yeah, and when you say that, the rookies, they were talking about, I think it was like ESPN that was talking about how usually you can have these sophomore slumps, like that's like a thing, but it's not like a thing when it comes to drafting high-end defensive ends. Like the ones that have been drafted in the top 5, when you look back at the history of it, that, your Bosa, Chase Young, actually both of the Bosa brothers, and all of these guys in their first year had, 6 to 10 sacks. And then their second year, they were going over the numbers. It's like 15, 19, like crazy. TJ Watt was the other one too. Like these high end guys in their second year end up becoming much more their second year, just from the defensive end position though.
Right. And that sophomore slump is usually running backs, right? That's most associated with is the sophomore slump.
I didn't know that.
But for defensive players, it's that second year is when they see the most maturation. They either make or break in their second year. It's really a testament to how they trained in the off season and how much they studied the playbook. there's so many determining factors, though, like having the same system and the same coordinators and not having to start all over. And the Lions have a leg up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love it from the death position, because here comes Jay to take again saying Aleem McNeil. Reports out of the camp from Pride of Detroit was saying that Aleem McNeil is down to 305 and didn't lose any of the power with his yoga training regimen from the off season. And they said that Aleem McNeil looks unblockable. Like he's doing pass rushing moves with power and is creating problems. And at the 3 technique is moving him from the nose to the attacking defensive tackle might have been the best move that Brad Holmes made last year. Thoughts on McNeil? Or did I lose you?
I know he's one of your favorite players too.
Yeah, I wanted to get, that's the jersey that I think I'm going to get if he's staying with number 54, so I can be Chris Spielman / McNeil. And
there you go.
And I love the fact that he picked 54. I know some people aren't, that with the odd numbers, some people aren't cool with that, but there's Will telling me that he's W Vogs. Thank you, Will, for changing that, by the way. Levi is in the comments right here, and he has a comment about Levi Onwuzurike can be a big piece as well. We've been waiting to see what he can do. This will be a make or break year for him. Mike, Levi.
So just to be clear, that is a guy named Levi commenting on Levi.
That's awesome, isn't it? That gets a 5-banger.
He's probably wearing Levi's.
Levi, you get a 5-banger for being Levi commenting on Levi.
You like that?
Thank you for your comment.
I know that you rotate the drops in and out, but please never lose the Kirk Cousins drop.
Oh, I can't. I do rotate some of them out, like the brand new one when we're talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown now.
By the power of Ra.
That's the drop that you get right there. You like that?
You like that?
You like that?
I wanted to comment. Do you want to go ahead? Give me your comments on Levi Onwuzurike, Mike.
I don't really have a whole lot. It'll be great just to see him in a uniform playing football. I mean, isn't it a sketchy proposition to have a major back surgery and then go out and play professional? I mean, you've got to want it really bad for that.
Right. But here's this thing, like, and this is going to start this next topic that we were talking about a little bit earlier, is like Brad Holmes being maybe the greatest GM of all time. Levi Onwuzurike was slated to, I mean, what we were talking last year, when he went down, that his career might be over, right? Like didn't we kind of write him off as a Brad Holmes bust, right? Like, well, we have to call it a bust because, availability is the best ability, right?
No, but that was a discussion, a heated discussion, and it sparked a whole new conversation. Can an injury make you a bust? And there was half of the people that said, yeah, you're not on the field. Doesn't matter what the reason is. You didn't produce. We wasted a high draft pick on you and you never panned out. That's a bust regardless of reason. And then there's the other school of thought that says, no, it doesn't make you a bust because you got hurt and you weren't able to perform your job.
Right.
So, there's two schools of thoughts there. And I'm more of a hardliner. I feel like regardless of the reason, you're a bust in the eyes of the salary cap and the GM using a draft pick on you when there are, 31 other guys in that round you could have drafted who aren't hurt and did make it on the field.
I agree. Yeah. I 100% agree with that. So I'm going to go, since we agree on that, I'm just going to go out and say that if you believe that he's not a bust because he never made it to the field because of injury, you're just wrong. Because you're just wrong. Because if he's not on the field and he isn't producing for you, it doesn't count. It's not like you get an attaboy. Like, yeah, well, gosh, he could have been really good, so it doesn't count as a bust. No, it's a bust. If he doesn't play, it's a bust. We're not
saying you suck. We're not saying you suck as a player. We're just saying injury prevented you from getting on the field,
right?
And that was a bust.
That's a bust. You need to produce on the field in order for it to be a good draft pick. So let's fast forward here to this part where he's been a full participant in all of these practices. He's not inhibited. He didn't start out on NFI. I mean, Levi Onwuzurike is on the team and practicing, and we never thought that he would be doing that. Like,
Right.
I mean, he's there. It's not limited. He has a shot, and he could be on this team. So let's talk about Brad Holmes, and let's look at this historic. Like, find me another team right here. We're going to go through this. Let's do 2021, right? Penei Sewell. He's going to be an all-pro. Great pick. Levi Onwuzurike. He's on the field now. Is no longer a bust. He has a chance to make this team. There's two.
So far, he's a bust.
He's on the team. He's on the 90-man roster right now.
So far, he's a bust.
Okay, so far he's a bust, but he's on the team.
So far, Jameson Williams is a bust.
But he's on the team.
I know that hurts for you to hear.
Okay, well, you're just disputing my point here because I want to go through. Okay, go through all the busts and I mean, if that's it, is that all you got? Is Josh Pascal a bust?
It's a so far, but the jury's still out, right? There's still time to save themselves from bust status. Levi, Jameson Williams, there's still time to save themselves from bust status. In my opinion, Ife Melifonwu is a bust so far.
I don't get that line of thinking because, I mean, how do you call somebody a bust that is one of your emergency safeties that is on the team? He made the 53-man roster last year and was on the roster the entire season as a 4th-round draft pick. How is that a bust?
Because he was drafted as a corner and they had to switch his position and he was continually injured. He hasn't put out production to warrant him not being called a bust. But there's still time. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're a bust for their career right now, but so far, I don't think you can argue Jameson Williams has been a bust. Melifonwu's been a bust. Onwuzurike been a bust. There's still chance for them to revive themselves from that. But right now,
okay, well, you just took my whole topic, so I am not going to go into that topic now because I can't. I can't. You that take right there ruins my topic. So Will Vogel says, "I hope Campbell turns into Luke Kuechly with a longer career." Campbell's a bust too because he hasn't produced yet.
No, he's a rookie who has no. That's not fair.
No, well, I don't think it's fair that you're calling somebody a bust that's on the team.
Because they've already had a year of experience in the league. And if they didn't produce to get the value to warrant the draft pick that they were, then so far they're a bust.
So so you expect 4th-round draft picks to come in and start and be all pro players then? Like they all need to be Amon-Ra St. Brown or they're a bust.
No, I expect a 4th-round player who made the 53-man roster, the next man up, to come in and play as good as the guy he's replacing.
And when he was switched to safety, he couldn't play cornerback. So I guess you could call him a bust at cornerback, but they switched him to safety, and he was a valuable reserve piece last year.
Well,
so that's Ifeatu Melifonwu.
They may have switched him to safety due to Tracy Walker's injury and being thin at the position. Why they went out and drafted one and signed one in free agency.
So we're talking Ife Melifonwu. You're calling a bust. Levi's a bust, but he has a chance to make the team. So where I'm trying to go, I'm trying to segue back into this thing. If you can relax a little bit on the bust talk about guys that are on the team, can we at least have you relax on that for a second so I can finish my point?
Sure.
So here we are in year one where we'll argue about the one. You got Penei Sewell. That's an all-pro. That's an all-pro. Levi Onwuzurike has been a bust up until this point, but he has a chance to make this team and actually contribute. We don't even know what he's going to be yet. 3rd-round pick was Aleem McNeil in 2021, and he looks like he's going to be the truth. And then you got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Ifeatu Melifonwu. Well, we know who Amon Ra is.
By the power of Ra.
And that's working out pretty good. And then Jameer Jefferson, I guess you can call the 7th round draft pick a bust at that point. Year 2, Aiden Hutchinson, he looks pretty good. Josh Paschal on the team. Kirby Joseph, good. James Mitchell, reserve tight end. James Houston, Malcolm Rodriguez, 6th round picks. Chase Lucas is still fighting for a roster spot. So here is Brad Holmes after 2 seasons. Every single player is on the 90-man roster right now. That's unheard of. Find me another GM where every single player that he's drafted is on the team.
That's a great point.
Find one. I challenge you. Bring it up. Throw it in the comments. Until then, Brad Holmes is the GOAT. Brad Holmes is the GOAT right now. I mean, he has to go and change. Like, I mean, he has to. I mean, the entire draft class needs to be a bust this year for him to be going backwards. Because nobody's hitting on all their picks. There's no other GM.
Average is 32%.
32% of draft picks make the team?
32% of draft picks are in the league 5 years later. Get a second contract.
That's nuts. That's
and
nuts.
Hasn't that yet, but he's on his way. These guys are definitely going to stick with another team just based on what they've done with the Lions, if the Lions can resign.
And honestly, I got emotional right there a little bit with what you were saying about busts, and it really doesn't matter what I think out there. And because you and I were arguing about that, I want to know what the people think about that. If you're out there, do you consider Levi Onwuzurike, Fatu Malafanu, and Jameer Jefferson, Chase Lucas busts already as Lions fans? Now, obviously, if John Dorn's out there, he thinks every player is a bust. But if you're out there, let me know. Jacob Dilling, did you change your name to Jacob Dilling? Are you Jake Dilling in Jacob Dilling? Gibbs is going to be a problem. And that is obvious. We hit that. Tina echoes that too. I believe that Gibbs is going to be great for our team. Shane says, what up, bud? What's up, Shane? Thank you for watching the show again. And Jacob Dilling says pure speed. Give me some comments on how you feel Jahmyr Gibbs is, Mike. Main Event Mike.
Jahmyr Gibbs?
Jahmyr Gibbs.
I'm really excited about this guy. I'm not as excited about him as you are because I think the Lions are going to bring him along more slowly than you believe he will. You think right out of the chute they're going to give him 10 touches a game. I don't see that. I say they ease him in slowly. Maybe by the 3rd or 4th week we might see 10 touches. But what really excites me when I think about him is Alvin Kamara. Mm-hmm. He's Alvin Kamara reincarnate in a younger body. And they're going to use him like Alvin Kamara. Of course, we know Dan Campbell comes from the Sean Payton coaching tree, and he saw firsthand how Alvin Kamara was used, primarily as a receiver and then a runner. And I really expect Jahmyr Gibbs to be used the same way.
Yeah, and I definitely disagree with you on the 10 touch. I think he's going to have more like 20 touches a game right off the bat. And touches do that includes like receiving too. But I think that he will get targeted 10 times at least per game in the passing game. And I do think he will get 7 to 10 carries as a running back right off the bat. I mean, I'm talking in Kansas City that you are going to see Jahmyr Gibbs, win or lose, is going to break out. And you are going to know who Jahmyr Gibbs is. The league will know who Jahmyr Gibbs is game one. And if anybody wants to put a friendly bet on that, I would do that. Inbox me if you want me to take your money. Jonathan Height says, I am hearing a lot of comparison to Alvin Kamara. And you just alluded to that right there. Joel Wilson says 4 yards before contact. Is that a real stat? It absolutely is, Joel. And you can actually, it's over 4 yards before contact for our offensive line. Our offensive line was, from a running perspective, I mean, you're looking at the reason why they let Jamal Williams go. It's because 4 yards before contact. You know what that means, Joel? That means that you could average 4 yards a carry behind our offensive line. Because I can run 4 yards without getting touched. I mean, you can too. So I think that this offensive line is being undersold because everybody's talking about the skill position. Oh, I wonder what Gibbs can do. Oh, I wonder what Montgomery, I wonder what Goff can do. And the reason why these guys are going to be great is because of the offensive line. Jared Goff will be clean. The running game will have bigger holes to run through and to use their high-end skills. I mean, part of the reason I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be so special is because of the offensive line, not just his skill set. I mean, if he was running behind a dog shit offensive line, they would still be talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, but he's not. This isn't a dog shit offensive line. This is, combining two things together that don't normally go together. You usually have a great running back and no offensive line, or a great offensive line and no running backs. This is
Let's
rare.
Let's talk about your boy. Let's talk about your boy for a minute.
Who's my boy?
You know who your boy is. You got that number 16 tattoo on your back.
You'll never know.
Who your boy is.
There he is.
You know who your boy is. JG, Jared Goff. That's your boy. Let's talk about him right quick.
Yes,
we
the
saw Justin Herbert. We saw Justin Herbert get a huge contract the other day, $262 million, right? And we know that within the next few days, that will then be eclipsed by Joe Burrow. And we saw this happen since Patrick Mahomes got his contract at $45 million. Every quarterback contract just keeps going up to outdo the last guy. Jalen Hurts, the highest paid quarterback, for a week. And then Lamar Jackson, the highest paid quarterback for a week. Now Justin Herbert, the highest paid quarterback for a week. And then Joe Burrow will be the last domino to fall to be $263 million at least. Every time they do this, they go $1 million higher than the last guy. So we'll see Joe Burrow at $263 million by the end of this week, even with his strained calf. And he deserves every nickel, don't get me wrong. But where does it fall Jared Goff now? We've got him for 2 more years on a $34 million hit. He's worth every nickel of that. But I don't see Jared Goff being worth more than $50 million. If he takes us to the NFC Championship game this year, Russ, should Jared Goff get extended to $50 million?
No, and he won't. He ain't going to get extended for $50 million because we have Brad Holmes, and Brad Holmes don't play like that. Brad Holmes will talk to him and say, hey, Jared, we got Hendon Hooker. We're moving. We are going to get younger, but here's what we're going to offer you because we love you and we have this amount of budget. Remember the Jamal Williams? What we had for Jamal Williams? That's what's going to happen to Jared Goff. As good as Jared Goff is, and as much as I love him, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have this tattoo removed off of my back. But I mean, he isn't the end all be all. I mean, he is the kind of guy that plays well with what was given to him. And that's what he's done. He's done well. He does well with being a pocket quarterback. He does well with, being very accurate and playing within that system. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's Patrick Mahomes or that he's Joe Burrow and that he is in that category yet. But I think that Brad Holmes would go to him and be like, okay, Jared, you were making $30 million. I mean, if we extend you out, we'll give you $30 million. We'll put you out 2 years. You want to be on this team, or do you want to go take your chance? He could probably go get $50 million somewhere else if he takes us and wins a place game.
He's got to at least get $1 million more than Danny Jones.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, look at what Tom Brady's done all those years. He never took the biggest contract when he extended himself. He was always cap friendly to the team. And Jared Goff is already on record for saying, I have enough money. I don't think that he's going to push to be, the highest paid. That doesn't seem like that's in Jared Goff's character to be like that. I could be wrong.
Want his value. I guess what I'm saying is, what will Jared Goff's value be if he takes us to an NFC Championship game? If he wins a playoff game or two?
I would be comfortable paying him 40. And I think if they offered him 2-year extension at 40 a year, that also gives an opportunity to trade him to a team to get, first, second round picks, because it's the value, right? So I don't think that they're going to go. I mean, Brad Holmes ain't going to pay him top dollar. He hasn't done it. Hasn't done it for anybody. Doesn't matter who you are.
I smell a really good meme here, Russ. Did you just say Brad Holmes don't play that?
Brad Holmes.
Do homie, HOLM, homie don't play that.
Homie don't play that. I love it. Oh, I love it. We got to get in here to the comments here. Let me see if I can. Oh, shoot. I lost my comment. Oh, I got to find it. Pure speed. What's 4 yards before contact was the real thing. Okay, there we are. Yeah, and that is a real stat, by the way. DMO is going to be special. David Montgomery. Okay. John says that David Montgomery will be special behind this O-line.
I agree.
I can subscribe to that, and that'll be the one that derails my big Jahmyr Gibbs picks, right?
Right. And it really wouldn't surprise me, with all this hype of Jahmyr Gibbs, that David Montgomery ends up top 5 in the league in rushing. I mean, really, he was brought in to be the bell cow. Jahmyr Gibbs is the DeAndre Swift replacement, right? He's our third down back. He's going to be catching. They're going to line him up at receiver a lot with David Montgomery in the backfield.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't really look at it like that. David Montgomery, like if you look at the New Orleans Saints when they had Kamara, like David Montgomery is the Mark Ingram. And they're going to just give him, they're going to feed him. He'll probably get 17, 20 carries a game. They're going to beat him up right in the middle. And Jahmyr is going to be spotted up and lined up against the weakest, whoever your weakest defender is. I'm going to line Jahmyr Gibbs right up on him.
The more you break it down, Russ, the more you analyze it, the more scary it looks. If you line Jamison Williams up on one side, Jahmyr Gibbs on the other side, who's going to run with that speed?
Nobody.
You got this Antoine Green guy. He's a 4-4 guy also. Put him out there, and then you got Amon-Ra all alone in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And Sam Laporta, the most athletic tight end that we've seen come out of college in years. This team is scary good.
It's crazy to me. Will says, hello, Mike. Will
hey,
vote. I did promise my wife that I was only going to go for an hour today, and it might actually be hard here because we're already up against it right there. But I do want to try to get through some of these comments right here. Starling Thomas, Facebook user, may be even more of a story if he continues to rise with his skills as Houston was last year. That's a great comment. I mean, if you haven't heard about Starling Thomas the fifth, then go read an article about how he's rising up, another undrafted free agent that Brad Holmes picked out and is rising up these depth chart. He is competing for the number 2 cornerback right now. And Mosley's been out, so he's been on the NFI list.
I heard an interesting stat the other day, Russ, on satellite radio. I think it was Bill Polian, Hall of Fame GM, who said that every year between 60 and 65 players make an NFL roster who were not drafted. So that averages out to about 2 per team. So if you can go by that math, I mean, we can kind of look ahead and try to predict who will the 2 undrafted players be that make this team. Starling Thomas certainly in the lead.
Yeah, Starling Thomas will definitely be one of those guys. I don't know if we're going to have 2 this time because our team's deep. So when your team is deep, then it becomes harder for, and that's not a bad thing, guys. Like that just means that you're hitting on your higher picks and they're not, some of them aren't good enough, but every once in a while, a Starling Thomas comes through. Antoine Green, I know that he wasn't an undrafted free agent, but that's a late round draft pick. I think that I can include him into that just because he was late and he's rising up the depth charts too. I don't like to tout 7th round draft picks. You know that, Mike. I don't like to come out here and try to fill your head with a bunch of Kool-Aid pipe dreams. But when a guy that was drafted in the 7th round is repping ahead of guys that have been on the team that are getting paid well to do that position, you have to say something about it. You can't just ignore it. So, and that's what's happening is Starling Thomas is rising up that depth chart. And so is Antoine Green. I mean, he could end up starting the season as a possible. He could end up winning that 2nd wide receiver position over known commodities, which is crazy to me.
Right. And kudos to Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell for realizing what the deficiencies are on their team and going out and addressing them, whether that be with undrafted free agents or late round picks or Denzel Mims. They didn't have a lot of height at receiver, right? They didn't have long receivers. Josh Reynolds was our tallest receiver. Right. And I think he's the only guy we have 6'2" or better. But now you bring in Denzel Mims, 6'3", Antoine Green, 6'3". I love it. And this Trey Quinn guy now from the USFL, another tall guy.
Yep.
They added what they were missing, and that's something that the Lions in the past have never done. They've never. I mean, we as fans from the outside looking go, why aren't you looking for a tall receiver? Why aren't you looking for a speed at the linebacker position? What you're missing. And this regime is doing all the right things by addressing their deficiencies and just making any weak spot or chink in the armor. They are shoring it up to make themselves a complete team. And it's so wonderful to see from the outside as a Lions fan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. John Dorn says, I can hear the same old Lions. I love you, John. I love you. I know that we're homering it up a little bit today. We usually, this is usually NFC North talk during the week. I've been going, but I'm trying to get into a habit because as of August 17th, we are going to start the main event's 3rd season going into this brand new year, I guess. And then that is also going to start our weekly type of things where, Monday we will cover the whole North to go into the NFC North open mic. Tuesday, we're going to cover the Vikings in the morning. And Wednesday, we're going to cover the Bears in the morning. That leads into the Hollis Hall report in the evening. Thursday, we're going to cover the Lions. And Fridays, we will cover the Green Bay Packers just in the morning, hitting all the stuff during the season. So there's not as much news, during the off season. So we kind of combine them 5 days a week here. But I appreciate you being on, John. We like you as a person, even though you have a horrible choice in football teams. Rod says, hell yeah, he can hear both of us. I did look back down when I asked that earlier. Jonathan Height said Josh Pascal isn't anywhere near a bust because he was injured last year. Yeah, that they're kind of, I guess they're coming after you, Mike, a little bit right there. We can't call these guys busts because they're not doing anything. We call them busts if they're not on the team.
Right.
They're gone.
Tony Mandrich was a bust. Mitch Trubisky was a bust. Lewis Cine is going to be a bust. So I get what you're saying. He's not a bust yet, but so far to date, they have not produced the value to warrant their draft pick. If you don't want to call them a bust because you're too much of a homer, that's okay with me. But you can't deny they have not lived up to the to the draft pick status that they had.
Okay,
That's all I'm saying.
so I will defute that from this point is, do they live up to the draft pick? So now I can honestly take Ifeatu Melifonwu off of that list for you, because you're not.
And I don't think you can call a 7th round pick a bust under any circumstances.
If he's on the team,
no circumstances. If Chase Lucas washes out and doesn't make the team this year and his NFL career is over, you can't call him a bust because that's a 7th round pick. There's no expectation.
And as a 7th round pick, he provided depth last year, made the team, and you can't expect any more out of a 7th round pick than that. You're looking from 4th round on, when you're talking these day 3 picks, 4th round on, you're looking at depth players, you're looking at special teamers and guys that, can contribute to the team in any way possible. And Ifeatu has done that. He has contributed to the team. They have had him switch positions. He hasn't played incredibly well at all times, but he's still on the team as depth. If he makes the team again, you just have to call that a pick, a pick that made the team. And Brad Holmes should get credit for drafting a 4th round pick that is still on the team after 3 years. Bear Down Mike says, can't call someone a bust if they haven't seen much playing time. Yeah, you can. If you're expecting that guy to have playing time. Like Levi Onwuzurike, I agree with Mike on that. I agree with Main Event Mike on that when you say Levi was a bust up until this point, because if he don't play, he don't play. Like, you have to be available. Jordan says, Holmes, 12 wins in 2 years. Right. You're going to find out about that, John Dorn. You're going to find out about what happens when you're 40 million plus behind the cap and you can't compete with other teams with the amount of talent that you can bring in. That was what Holmes had to deal with. They ripped this thing apart to the studs. And yeah, the first season wasn't good. When Jared Goff is throwing to Tom Kennedy and Terrell Williams, sure, call him a bust. Sure. Levi.
Russ, hey, Russ, have a great day, my friend. God bless you and your viewers.
Thank you very much, Main Event Mike. You want to plug?
Nah, you can do it for me. I'm going to go.
All right. Take it easy, Mike.
All right, bye.
So this is what Mike would usually do at this time. He would say, you can watch the NFC North Open Mic every single Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. You can be part of the NFC North Open Mic. Do not bring your feelings to the NFC North Open Mic because you will get them hurt. So what have the Lions done? They haven't won a playoff game since 1991, and yeah, I'm still stoked about them. I still think that they're going to be great. I really do appreciate everybody for coming on here. John Dorn says, Gibbs never had a 1,000-yard season in college. No, he didn't. He didn't. He was in a three-headed monster. Right there, and he plays more of a wide receiver. He did have 1,000 yards receiving and led the league, or led the team in receiving last year. So there's John Dorn showing what he doesn't know. No, Iffy Jamar are not a bust yet. Jameer is hanging fruit in the RB rooms. Injuries happen. Bad play warrants that status. Bear Down Mike says Brad Holmes and Ryan Poles have been smart with the salary cap. I'll give that to Ryan Poles. I'll give you. I think Ryan Poles is bringing talent into the Chicago Bears room. But your biggest question is your coaching. I don't even know who your defensive coordinator is. I don't even know who you got as far as guys that can put all those guys together. So you got talent. Ryan Poles has brought you talent. It remains to be seen whether your coaching can bring it together. Okay, John Dorn corrected me. Gibbs only had 400 yards receiving last year. But I'm pretty sure he did lead his team in receiving, which I don't know if he only had 400 yards receiving. I don't know how that is all that great. So maybe John Dorn is right. Maybe Jahmyr Gibbs. John Dorn's putting himself out there. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a bust, according to Packer fan John Dorn. So I apologize. He did lead his team in receiving, even though he only had 400 yards. But they spread that ball around a lot with Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick. Let's see. I think that about does it right there. We got everything. You did too. John Dorn, you called him a bust. He said he's going to be a bust. You said he's going to be a bust. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a bust. You reached on a running back in the first round. Don't make me go back to the episode and bring you out. You did. You called him a bust. The minute that they got it, you said we reached, and we could have got him in the second round. But that was a couple weeks ago. But we won't do that. But I do want to thank everybody that is on here. Like, I know that it is just the off season. Here we are talking about training camp, full padded training camp. And we do this every single day, usually during the weekdays at 11 a.m. The phone sessions, football talk with me, 11 a.m. Usually some NFC North, but I am a Lions fan, so sometimes it'll just be Detroit Lions on this. I appreciate everybody that is listening right now. I appreciate everybody that goes out and follows our page, that the Detroit Lions Villain Squad. We lost our page a couple months ago, and we had to restart this one. We're already back over 1,000. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you to the Detroit Lions News for allowing us to broadcast into your platform. Make sure that you join us. NFC North open mic every single Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And from Russell Wayne, that's me. And main event Mike from a little bit earlier. Thank you for listening, and God bless you guys. We will see you guys on Monday.
You